Cordiales saludos. En esta ocasión los quiero llevar por un recorrido que hicimos a través del 305 Factory Tour por la fábrica Wheatstone, Vorsis y AudioArts. Una fábrica que 305 Broadcast se siente muy orgullosa de representar, ya que constituye una de las fábricas que tiene más detenimiento en el control de calidad en todos sus productos. Adelante, les invito a recorrer esta fábrica a través del señor Darren Pelly.
Hi, my name is Darren Paley with Wheatstone. I'm in the sales department for Wheatstone Corporation, AudioArts, and Vorsis. I'm going to take you on a quick factory tour with 305 Broadcast and introduce you to all the areas of our 52,000 square foot facility. We're starting here in the shipping and receiving area. This is where everything comes into the building and leaves. Behind me here, you're going to look at, this is all our AudioArts stock, consoles such as the R55E, D75, power supplies, Vorsis, VP8s, AP2000s, the Air Aura. So these are all put onto the shelf, and that's our box product. Over here you'll see modules for consoles, R55s, D75s, Air 3s, Air 1s. This is where everything comes into the building raw and leaves the building complete. From the shipping department, all our raw materials arrive here to the metal shop, and you can see behind me is all our raw metal, where all our product starts off as a flat piece of metal. In the background over here, you're going to see our laser cutter, which is currently cutting metal for various parts and pieces of our Wheatstone and AudioArts console. Using the laser cutter is extremely accurate and allows us to use up to 90% of a flat sheet of metal. Any unused portion is actually going to be recycled. Let's move on to the laser cutter. Rodney. Rodney here operates our laser machine. As you can see, the laser is currently cutting out button panels for our TC3 and various other things. As soon as they're done here, they're going to go on over to the buffer and sander. Rodney, you want to say a couple words? Wave to the camera. Hello. This machine here is what we call our belt sander. After our metal pieces come off with the laser, there's going to be some rough edges on it. What we end up doing is we take the whole piece of metal flat and we actually send it through the belt sander. When it goes through the belt sander, it makes both sides of the metal completely flat without any ridges, ready for powder coating. We're now at the metal forming area. This is where all the frames actually take shape after they come off the laser and they set belt sander. This is Lee. Explain a little bit about your area.
I've been doing 25 years. I've been doing sheet metal since 1972. Basically, I do all the forming, process engineering, put all these units together, fix, finish. Basically what I do.
Cool. Thanks, Lee. I appreciate that. We're going to move on to the next department. It's right behind me. This area here is our wood CNC area. This is very much like a laser cutter, except it's only for wood. What we do here is we cut out various things from MDF. We make little wood end panels. This is for our turrets. It engraves the actual wood, throws the holes in the back of it, ready for prep and powder coating. This unit here we put on a flat piece of wood, program it to what we want cut at the time, and various things, like the end panels for consoles get made. After they're cut out here, we move on to powder coat for this product, and we also make all our packaging on this. This is our snap or spot welding area. This is where we put all the standoffs on the back of the actual modules. This holds the circuit cards away from the metal. So all these little standoffs are being put on in the background here. Rodney's inserting them into the device, and we have jigs set up, and he places them on the back of the module. Or the faceplates. Once the faceplates are completed with the standoffs on, these are going to go into the powder coat area. Hey, we're in the powder coat area, or the powder coat paint booth area right now. This is Glenn. Glenn's prepping some of the metal that came from Lee's department in the metal shop. They're wiping these down, getting all the impurities off of it. Behind me here, you're going to see So you're going to see the crisp coat, which strips the metal of its impurities. We'll rinse it, and then we'll seal it. After the metal is sealed, Glenn prepares them, hangs them on the racks, and gets ready for powder coating. After Glenn, who you just saw over there, prepares the metal for powder coating, they get hung on these racks. And these covers, these are for our blade product, will be taken and placed into this booth to get painted. When they get painted, they'll be placed back on the rack and brought into the oven. After the covers have been actually powder coated, they then get the whole rack gets placed into this oven. And depending on the color, they're put into the oven at a certain temperature and time. After the time is expired, the rack gets rolled out, and the finished product looks like this. So here we are in front of the powder coating booth. And he's preparing a chassis for a blade to get powder coated. So what happens here is the powder has a positive charge and the bar has a negative charge. When he sprays the powder, it adheres to the metal. It is dry. Once he's done coating it, he'll hang it on the rack and it's prepared to go into the oven. The neatest part about this is that should he make a mistake, he can blow the powder off and reapply it. This is the silk screen department here at Wheatstone. All our products that require silk screening are done in this portion of the factory. We also create the screens for each one of the products. This is for an R55E. Once these screens are created, they're put into a jig, and all the modules, after they come out of powder coat, get screened. We do not only the modules, stuff like the Air 1, and we do everything to the cover of our manuals in the screening department. After the screening process is complete, these modules will be put back on the rack, as you see here to the left, or to the camera's right, and these will go out to quality control point where they'll check to make sure all the screening is absolutely perfect. Here we're at a quality control point with the Wheatstone factory. This is where all the metal comes in from the metal shop, the powder coat area, and the silk screening. At this particular station, they look at each one of the modules or consoles or meter bridges, anything that is powder coated or painted or comes from the metal area, and they'll look over everything on the module. And in this area, you'll see right here where this little red check mark is, or a little red arrow, that there is actually a blemish in this panel. This means that it has not met our quality control and therefore will either be repaired or thrown out and recycled. Right now we're at the surface mount department here at the Wheatstone factory. The surface mount department is where we take our raw circuit cards with no components on it. Our guest employee of the day, Alfonso Lopez.
Hey guys,
305
now
Broadcast.
I'm working for Wheatstone. How about that?
How about that? He's actually going to put the paste on the actual board before the components get put on. So Alfonso, go ahead. Run that right across the board.
Dangerous mission.
Dangerous mission right here. All the way down, as quick as you can. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
There we go. Almost finish it.
There you go.
How about that?
How about that? Now, as soon as that paste is done, basically what it's done, he's applied the actual paste all the way to all the pads on the circuit board. Once this is completed, it's going to go on to surface mount. This is the surface mount machine. After Alfonso did the card over there at the pasting area, we put the actual cards in the surface mount machine. And the surface mount actually not only tests the component, tests its values and its size, but places it on the board. This is one of 4 current machines that we have here at Wheatstone. We've got a 5th one coming. After these are finished, the cards will actually be taken off here and then put into the oven for the solder to melt and adhere the actual components to the circuit board. As this is going on, the metal work is being done, the components are being made, and next we're going to move on to the assembly area. This is an assembly area here at the Wheatstone manufacturing plant. What I'm holding here is a section of a power supply. Wheatstone manufactures and designs all its power supplies for 95% of our products. This area of assembly is separated from the others because most of the components are too big for the surface mount machines. So we use components that use through-hole design, where they're actually hand put on the board and then sent to our wave solder area. This is the assembly area here at Wheatstone. We have our assembly rows. This is where the actual metal from the metal shop and the components from the through-hole and/or power supply department come down our assembly rows. The raw components meet at the end of the row, and by the time they reach at the other end of the row, by the time they reach the end of each row, it's an assembled product. At this point, these modules, power supplies, or any other of the assembled assemblies then go to our final assembly area where we actually put the console together. We're in the final assembly area for the AudioArts division of the company. This frame came from our frame assembly over here, where we put the actual meter bridge, VU meters, the subboards, the sub-assembly boards into the actual console. By the time this happens, we get a birth certificate created for the console. Every console that's made in the Wheatstone factory has a birth certificate, and this is kept on file, so we can always look up a serial number and exactly how the console was actually built. Once the sub-assembly, the console's created, we're gonna wheel this down the row, and as we move down the row here, on your right, you're gonna see some modules, and the modules on the actual shelves are where the consoles are assembled. You can see them all right in here: sub-assemblies, blanks. We got input panels, we got motherboards. So this is where the consoles start to get their shape, where all the input modules, output modules, telephone modules, or whatever modules are actually in that console get assembled. Once they're assembled, they keep coming down the line and they start looking more traditionally like a console. At the end of the actual line, the power supply, the connector kits, the wiring, the final birth certificate, everything except the blanks are put into the console, as you see right here, all checked for quality control points throughout the factory. At this point, the console gets its final test, and if everything meets the published specs, it'll get boxed and put back into the stockroom, ready for shipping. This area of the factory is where the actual Wheatstone consoles and Wheatstone products are actually assembled and then moved down the line. Right here we have an empty frame that's getting ready for an E6 for a project. This E6 has its birth certificate created just like the AudioArts consoles. Here at this station, the motherboard, the internal wiring, and the internals of the console will be actually inserted. Once we get to the QC point, which we're going to go to next, is where the modules actually get put into the console, software loaded, and ready for final test. Behind me are various blades. The blades are part of our WheatNet IP product. At this station, after they roll off the factory line, this is where all the software gets loaded in the blades. Once the software is loaded, it'll move on to its final test area and test it as a system prior to its shipping. This section of the factory is the final quality control and test area for all our Wheatstone product, such as our Bridge, Generation Series services, our Evolution Series services, our Blades, WheatNet IP product, and even our standalone consoles such as our D5000 and D8000. This area is where the final product is assembled, tested as one, and then quality controlled by Sylvia here in our quality control department. She makes sure that every one of our products is absolutely 100% perfect before it gets boxed, packaged, and sent out the door. Here we're in our secret little test lab that Marty Moses makes. Things happening here where we test out third-party components such as switches and faders. Marty's better known to me as Q, much like the 007 agent James Bond has his Q. We've got here something where we test various components on, like our faders. It's a counter of where we test our faders. It'll run that fader up and down, and this can run for days, weeks, until the fader actually fails. The counter will let us know how many times the fader has been run up and down, and at certain points when it reaches this, Marty will take this off, test it, and see the actual quality of the fader and what state it's in. There's other things that he does in here where he tests buttons, switches, other components, power supply enhancements, various things that we got to check out to make sure our product leaves this place absolutely 100% perfect. Here we're at one of our test rooms here at Wheatstone. This is what we call our heat room. Much like Miami, hot all the time. This room here is where we take a power supplies or products and put them under extreme heat conditions to test them to make sure they don't fail. Come on in. The heat room is actually heated up to about 100, 110 degrees. Here we'll actually take units that have had issues in the field, power supplies that have run off the line. We'll put them under extreme load, keep them in this room, run them for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes to make sure these things don't fail under extreme conditions. It's starting to get hot in here. Let's get out. Once again, my name's Darren Paley here at Wheatstone. Thank you for joining us on the factory tour. I hope you enjoyed it. If you ever have a chance to stop by New Bern, North Carolina, here in the United States, please come down and visit us. We'd be more than happy to bring you through an actual tour with you in person. Thank you.
Gracias, Darren, por tan excelente recorrido a través de Wheatstone, Vorsis y AudioArts. Recuerden que en 305 Broadcast estamos a su orden para cualquier necesidad que tenga, bien sea con consolas AudioArts, análogas o digitales, con procesadores de audio Vorsis desde 4, 8 o 31 bandas para mejorar el sonido de su radio, o las consolas por IP de Wheatstone. Muchas gracias y a sus órdenes.